midweek motivation. I'm super pumped for today's episode. But before I get into that, I want to give a couple quick announcements. So number one, we are at the tip top of May, and I'm wrapping up our first round of the Sisterhood membership. Our Sisterhood membership, it is a virtual community for the hardworking woman who also wants to include herself on her to-do list. Every quarter, it's not really quarter, it's every season, we pick a different theme to focus in on. And the mission is really to just provide you with tools, resources, community that equip and empower you to take care of yourself, so that then you can go out into the world and love and serve from that overflow. Our theme this past spring was Healthy Things Grow, and it has been epic to say the least. And I'm really excited to announce formally our summer theme, which is all about the glow up. We're really focusing in on breaking free of diet culture and diet mentality, but also breaking free of body shame. I want you to fuel your body and feel good in your body from the inside out. So there's a lot that we're diving into, and there's just so much goodness coming in store. I actually have a proof right here in front of me of the entire workbook that you're going to get, 50-page resource, if when you are a part of the Sisterhood membership. So that is opening up. You can go to inspirebeautybrit.com/join the sisterhood. And right there, you can make sure that you're on the wait list so that when enrollment opens, which is on May 26th, it's only open for a 10-day window. You can make sure that you're first in the loop. So that's number one. Number two, before that even happens, I'm going to be hosting a free mini challenge that's going to get you kind of in the mood to feel your best this summer. And so that is kicking off free, like I said, on Facebook on May 22nd. So coming up in about 10 days from now. And both of these opportunities, whether you want to join the mini challenge, just get kind of a taste of what my membership community is like, or if you want the full enchilada, both of those are going to be included in the notes below. So tap those links, check them out. And I'm just really excited to make this a summer of community and really feeling our best from the inside out. So those are the announcements. Let's kick off today's show. Today is going to be a fun one because I am kind of hot off the tails of one of my very first retreats that I've ever gone to. Now, I've hosted retreats for my business in the past that have been centered around building my network marketing business, but I've never gone to an actual like intimate retreat. I've gone to events and things like that. But a few months ago, I caught wind that one of my fave podcasters would be hosting this intimate retreat in Denver. And there was an application process to get picked. And honestly, I wasn't really sure my chances, but I went for it anyway. So I was a little nervous, I'm going to be honest, because it was an investment, like the kind of money that I personally don't easily toss around. And so I knew that if I got selected, first of all, it was non-refundable. So like there's no backing out. If I got picked and I put my down payment down, I was going. I wasn't going to get that money back. And I want to make sure that I say that and start with that, because there's a lot of women who listen in and who follow me and that I'm connected with in this community that are often stopping themselves from going after their dreams or their goals or whatever is in front of you because of the time that it might take to get there. But a lot of times I see money as the stopper before we even start. And I have to tell you that when Charlie and I were really chatting about the investment side of this, I had promised him that it was going to be a really great yes. And coming on the outside, on the other side of it now, I'm on the flip side of it now. I am like, I would pay that time and time again. The transformation, the growth, the community that I've built, like worth it and then some. So, which is so funny because we were actually at the mall this weekend and, which we never do, by the way, so random, but we were at the mall this weekend doing like maybe what normal people do. And we were about to buy something that was comparable in price to this retreat that I went to. And we were like, we need some time to think about it. But it was almost like a quick yes for us. And then I was like, how crazy is it that we had to stew over this decision that we knew would make me better and in turn our family better, but something that's just like a tangible item. A lot of times, like we're like, yeah, let's just rip the band and go for it, even though there's like no growth on the other side of it. So anyway, I just say this because I really want you, whenever you're about to make an investment in something that you feel a little scary, it feels a little scary to do. and it's out of your comfort zone to stretch in that way, I always want you to consider what's on the other side of that yes. What's on the other side of that investment? And if it's just a thing, if it's just an item that's going to collect dust, then maybe it's not the best yes. But if it is something that's truly going to transform you on your road to being your best self, then I say, if you can make it work, go for it. So no one's an island. I know this. I know that we grow and we stretch best when we can be around others who empower and support that in and through us. And I say this also because I believe so much in community, and I believe so much in getting women around other women who are on a similar growth journey. And that was really one of the big goals this year, was I knew I needed to be at this retreat if I got picked. So spoiler alert, I got picked. It was really awesome. And I felt really excited about that moment that I got picked, on top of really nervous about the financial investment. One of the things that made me super nervous going into the retreat was that I knew no one. There were 12 of us that got picked, and they made sure not to let us know who each other were. And there wasn't a plan or a schedule. All we really got a couple days or a week before we got there was an email with just a couple options of this is maybe what you'll want to wear each day. But there was no plan. There was no schedule. I did not know where we were going, what we were eating, none of the things. And I really didn't know much of what to expect, other than it was a retreat where we dig into our Enneagram type. Now, this is an episode where I'm going to talk about the Enneagram in depth, but for now, I'll let you know, and I'll share that I'm a 4. And if you're familiar with the Enneagram and you're familiar with me, it's pretty obvious that I'm a 4, because 4s are what you would call an intense creative. And 4s are really in their feelings quite often. And again, there's so much more to that and to me beyond just being a 4. And I'd love to unpack that later for this community, because it's so, so good, but that's not the point of today's episode. But coming out of this retreat, I do feel like I have 11 new sisters and truly a clearer understanding of who I am on such a deeper level. And also who the people I love most truly are. There were so many aha moments for me over the course of that retreat where I was like, wow, I can love this person so much better now that I have a clearer understanding of what makes them tick. And I think that's the benefit of this type of setting. When you get into a community, when you get into a smaller group like this, and you're able to understand yourself, you can start understanding others, but you can also start to understand what to do with that information to be a better human moving forward. Because going into the retreat, you're looking for that transformation. Going into even pressing play on this episode, you're looking for transformation. You're looking for that golden nugget or that aha moment. And I know that going into stuff, we get excited about it, and coming out of stuff, we're super on fire and that was life transforming. But what happens when life is not easy? What happens when you're in the storm? And one of the most fascinating parts of the retreat for me was not learning about how we thrive as the number of what we are on the Enneagram, not so much as our growth, but there was an interesting moment where she taught us about our stress mode. She taught us what each personality type will tend to gravitate and do when they become stressed out versus when they're in a growth, healthy mindset. And so that's kind of what I'm digging into today, because I know if you follow me, I know I've heard so many of your stories of times when you're going through storms. They can be major storms or even little micro day-to-day storms, but I've heard it from my community and I've felt it myself. And being in Denver truly reminded me of a really cool story that I've never shared, that I wanted to kind of bring to light today, because going into Denver and coming out of it, it's something that just stuck in my mind, and I feel encapsulates so much of that weekend. So I'll get to that. But first, my question, what do you do? What do you do when your road gets rocky? What do you gravitate towards? When you gravitate and move into stress mode, and we've all been there, when it feels like life's become a storm, what do you do? What is your default mode? I know for a lot of my life, my default mode could be shame. It can be retreat. It can be introverting inward and pushing people away. That's sometimes my default mechanism, is that protection mode. What do you do? How do you show up? And a question for you is, do you tend to prolong your storm and stay in it longer? Or are you the one that like tries to rush through it super fast, like nothing ever happened? Both could be damaging in their own way. And there's also kind of like a middle ground that I want to navigate today. But we've all been there. No one is immune to storms of life. And so what's fascinating to me is when I witness two people with seemingly similar storms of life go through them so differently. And like, why is that? What causes people to face storms in such different ways? At the end of the day, the main choice we have, you guys, is not whether or not we're going to have a storm. The main choice we have is how we respond to that storm. So I've got a fun story that I actually heard from one of my pastors years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. And whenever I'm passing through Colorado or Denver or anything like that, I'm always reminded of this story because it has to do with Colorado. So I'm going to help you visualize it. So stick with me. So Colorado, guys, y'all, I used to be an elementary school teacher and I did teach social studies. So hopefully I can explain this in a way that's tangible. But Colorado, you guys, it's divided almost exactly in half, where the western part of the state is where you'll find the Rocky Mountains. And on the eastern part of the state is where you'll find the Kansas Plains. And so it's got this like two landscape thing going on. And because of this unique landscape, Colorado is actually one of the only places in the world that has both buffalo from the Rockies and cows from the plains. And even better than this little social studies lesson is an awesome lesson and example for us as purpose-driven women when we study the way that these two animals respond to storms. They're coming into Colorado, they're almost always coming in from the west, and then they roll out to the east. And again, west Rockies, east plains. The cows in the plains can sense that a storm is coming from that direction. So the cow tries to continue running eastward in the plains, like further away from the Rockies, to get away from the storm, which is fine and all. But cows aren't that fast. Like imagine a cow running. So as the storm is coming from the west towards the east and the cows are running to the east, eventually the storm catches up with them. And without knowing any better, the cows are just continuing to kind of outrun the storm. And what they don't realize as cows is that they're actually running with the storm. And it makes the amount of pain, time, and frustration they experience from that storm a lot longer in that process. And we do this. We do this too, my friends. I am guilty. We spend so much of our lives trying to like avoid the inevitable challenges that come from and with difficult situations, difficult seasons. And what ends up happening is we make that pain, that time, that frustration even worse than if we actually did what buffalo do. Because what the buffalo do is very unique to the animal kingdom as opposed to what the cows do. So remember, cows are running with the storm. They prolong that pain, time, frustration because they inevitably stay in it longer. What a buffalo does is a buffalo waits for the storm to cross right over the peak of that mountaintop. And as the storm rolls over the ridge, buffaloes turn and they charge into the storm. They run at the storm. And by running at the storm, they run straight through it, coming out of the other side of it much faster. And this minimizes the amount of pain, time, and frustration that they experience from that storm. Now, I have to tell you that this buffalo charging the storm thing, I heard it from my pastor, but digging deeper, there's an actual TED Talk, YouTube, everything from this guy, Rory Vaden, who is the one who, brought this story to light. And it's really worth the listen. So if you want to hear more about that, check out Rory Vaden, because he's the one who has like all of the deets and insight into this. But I'm just like, I love the visual of cows and buffalo living almost in the same storm spot, yet doing two totally different things. Notice it's the same storm handled differently. And this becomes such a great metaphor for all of us, because even though we're in different places, you're listening to this and you might not be in the same place of life as I am. You might not be, I'm not a mother yet. You might be a mother. I'm almost in my 40s. You might be in your 20s. Like we are in different spaces and places, but all of us, the great equalizer is that we all have storms professionally, personally, financially, maybe a relationship battle or a health issue. We don't get to choose. The storms will come. And the only choice we have then is how we respond to those storms, and even more specifically, when we respond to those storms. So to wrap up, I just want to give us a couple realistic ways to build resilience, even when you're in your storm, even when there's difficulty or adversity. Because knowing that life won't be perfect, I think it's important to have tools in your toolbox that you can like turn to when that storm hits. I'm not going to sugarcoat your storm. I'm not going to rush you through it. But I think, at least personally for me, there's lessons to be learned when I sit in those hard spaces. But I'll nudge you not to linger. Okay. Because it's like when we camp out in that valley, when we stay stuck in the storm, when we try to run from it and it catches up to us and we're stuck in it longer, it simply just makes it harder. It's more painful. It's more time wasted, just stuck in the hard, and then more frustration. So to wrap up, I want to give you a couple realistic ways to build some of that buffalo like resilience, even when you're sitting in adversity, because this might be you today. And I don't wish storms upon anyone. I just know that they come. And in my life, these are things that help me. So number one, journaling. Journaling helps me so much. I set a timer. You don't need like this crazy morning routine or anything fancy. Just set a timer for 10 minutes. Grab a journal, somewhere you can write, whatever, and just dump it out. Whatever the thing that you're going through, write about it without trying to make it pretty or neat. I remind myself in moments like this that no one's reading this, so it's just mine. It's my feelings, it's my thoughts, it's my perspective, it's my emotions just poured out onto the page. The second thing I like to do when I'm going through hard times is meditate. Guys, this has been transformative for me, no joke. I pulled my sisterhood members at the top of the month, and I asked them what self-care routine they've implemented so far since joining our membership this year that's been a game changer. And there were so many awesome answers that they had given, but for me, mine was meditation. I originally started doing some meditation because I had to for the 75 hard phase 1 that I shared with you guys on a past episode. But, and if you've missed that episode, you can totally go back and listen to all of that. But it was on my list of like must do's, non-negotiables. And so that's why I originally started it. But it's been this daily thing that I've kept going with and clung to, because the thing is, I set a timer, or I don't even set a timer. I literally will get on an app. I'll get on the Calm app is one I love to use. I love to use Peloton app has one. The Beachbodies app has meditations. There's so many different places where you can find meditation. You can even just go on YouTube and type in like 10-minute meditation, and I'm sure you'll find something. But I come out of the other side of those 10-ish minutes feeling so much lighter, so much lighter. And friends, I know we could easily just scroll for 10 minutes. So like, you've got your phone, use it to help you feel better, especially in these hard times. Okay, and last one. This is easier said than done, but I want you to remember that grace is available for you too. Often I have to think about how I would speak to a friend when I'm going through something, because I'm not always the kindest to myself. And so I want you to remember that you deserve to grieve. You deserve to process. You deserve to cry. You deserve to get angry. You deserve to get all the things. A lot of times we stifle those feelings down. We press them down and we try to just rush through that storm. But we end up making that journey so much longer because we haven't fully healed through that pain. Every time we push that energetic, emotional energy down, it gets stored in our bodies, you guys. It gets stored in our bodies and we have to let it out. So it could be a good cry. It could be like a freaking ugly cry. Like, hello, I love a good ugly cry. But it could also just be moving your body and getting some of that energy out in that way. But ultimately, give yourself grace. One of my mentors at the retreat in Denver said, "You came upon this innocently." And I love that. So speak to yourself, and give yourself advice the same way you would to a close friend. Honestly, you guys, I'm still at such a high from Denver, but I really hope that this story and this example of the buffalo and the cows and just how they navigate storms, the same storm, but navigate it so different. I hope that sticks with you the way it did for me so many years ago. It empowers me, honestly, to take stock in how and when I respond to storms. Because like I said, as much as I don't wish the painful, challenging, difficult seasons on any one of you, I know that it's those seasons, at least in my life, that have bared the most growth in my journey. And I'll always remind you in this space that growth looks so freaking good on you, sister. So, as much as you don't love the storms, I want you to remember this analogy. I want you to allow yourself to process your feelings. I want you to give yourself healthy spaces to navigate that and give yourself some grace along the journey, because even though the storms come, I want you to remember that they don't last forever. All right, you guys, I hope you love this episode. Give it a share, give it a like, give it to a best girlfriend that maybe is in a storm and you think she needs this, and share it with your community. All right, guys, I love you so much. I'm rooting for you, and I will see you next week.